This has major implications for the Chicago Bulls. We're going to be talking about 5 things that the Chicago Bulls fans should be excited to see next season. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into today's hot topic, I want to go ahead and share a special message from the sponsor of today's video, Fume. Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits led by the sponsor of today's video, Fume. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you could be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code DIGEST to get your free topper. It's the perfect accessory to your Fume device. Slip it onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. It's chewable for those who love to fidget, and it's reusable. Head to tryfume.com. That's tryfume.com and use the code DIGEST, or you can scan the QR code on the screen to get your free Fume topper when you order your journey pack today. Go to tryfume.com/digest or scan the QR code and use the code DIGEST to get your free Fume base when you order your journey pack today. All right, so we are talking positives around the Chicago Bulls. This was an article that had 5 things that Chicago Bulls fans should be excited for next season. And so let's start off with the first thing that was mentioned in this particular piece. And they're talking about Coby White, and they're also talking about Ayo. And I think that absolutely Chicago Bulls fans should be excited for both of these players. I think that once DeMar DeRozan and then also Alex Caruso was traded, I think that these 2 players on the roster are set to probably have the biggest impact now that they are gone. I think with Coby White, especially being a clutch player, I talked about how he was clutch last season. I think that he's ready to step into a bigger role this season. I think that you're going to see that. And I really do believe that he is going to turn into an all-star player or maybe a player that you would consider a franchise player. And then with Ayo, I think now that Alex Caruso is gone, I really think that there is the potential that he could perhaps be our best defender out there. I think, you still have Patrick Williams out there. You still have Matas Buzleis. Obviously, we have Jalen Smith. We have some players that could step into that role, but I think that Ayo definitely can fit that. And I think that Ayo, regardless of where he is in the lineup, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, I think he's going to be a huge impact for the Chicago Bulls. And I think that regardless of what happens with the pick, that will take place next season, whether they get into the Cooper Flag situation or not, you need players to build around. And I think that with Coby White and Ayo, we absolutely should be excited as Bulls fans for those players, especially since we drafted them. All right, like we drafted those players, and thankfully we didn't give up on Coby White too soon, and we got a chance to see his leap. And I think we're going to be rewarded as Bulls fans now that he's going to step into an expanded role this next season. I think he's really going to take off along with Ayo. All right, so next they talk about, or they don't talk about this, but I'm mentioning it, Matas Buzleis. I think that he absolutely should be talked about, and he's absolutely something that we should be excited for as Chicago Bulls fans. Why? Because he's mentioned in the possibility of becoming the Rookie of the Year. The last time that we had a Rookie of the Year, that was Derrick Rose, and we saw how great he was. Michael Jordan, obviously we see how good he was. Elton Brand, he was a co-Rookie of the Year with Steve Francis, even though we didn't get a chance to see fully what he could do with the Chicago Bulls. I'm still upset with the fact that we traded him off in order to get Tyson Chandler over with Eddie Curry, and that didn't really work out for us. But Elton Brand went on to help the Clippers, and he actually had a successful career. He was a good player, so I don't know if we got a chance to truly build around him. Either way, every time that we've had a Rookie of the Year candidate, they've been pretty good. And I think that Matas Buzleis is a player that I expect to be very good from day one. And especially if he becomes the Rookie of the Year, then I absolutely think that this is a player that most teams will look back on and say, like, man, we should have drafted this guy. He should not have fell to number 11. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. There's a lot of people that think he's going to force his way into the starting lineup, which I think it's a possibility just with the way he competes, his motor. Like, I mean, you can't teach that. So, I mean, I know there's a lot of things with skills and stuff like that he has to work on, but you have to love that motor. And I think with that motor and just his willingness to want to, you could see that the ceiling is very high for Matas Buzleis. So I think Chicago Bulls fans should absolutely be excited for this rookie. Next, they talk about Jalen Smith. And so, you know, with Jalen Smith, I think that you absolutely should be excited about Jalen Smith. I think that coming into this thing, you look at his per 48 minutes and stuff like that, like it looks really, really good. And it suggests that he should at least play anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes a game, which I think is going to happen, especially if they move on from Vooch. And I just think that Jalen Smith could bring the level of physicality to this team that we've needed. All right, I've talked about Joakim Noah and I've talked about Tom Thibodeau and how that defense was. And I think that the Chicago Bulls have really lacked identity. And I think that bringing that level of physicality will do wonders for the Chicago Bulls as they continue to build. You need an identity as you start to get good. And I think that this could be a player, he's 24, that definitely could help us build towards the future and really just instilling that type of culture that I think the Chicago Bulls need, along with getting the talent out there. So I think that Jalen Smith taking over for our starting center position at some point, or at least seeing what he can do once he gets expanded minutes, I think that this is something that the Chicago Bulls fans should be really excited to see. And for right now, he could be coming off the bench. And if he's coming off the bench, we've been looking at Lonzo Ball. We've been looking at how good he's playing. Clearly, that is going to be a very fun lineup to look at, that second unit. When you talk about Lonzo, you talk about Matas Buzleis, you talk about the potential of Ayo being with him. Like, the second lineup might be even funner than the first lineup, to be honest with you. So that is something that I think Chicago Bulls fans absolutely should be looking forward to. Next up, they talk about two different situations. They talk about the feel-good story with Lonzo Ball, and then they talk about the possibility of Zach LaVine moving on this next season. And look, I'm more into the fact of Lonzo Ball coming back. I think that feel-good story for sure is something that the Chicago Bulls fans would be excited about, and especially if he plays well. You know, even if he's moving on from us after this season, that's fine. But just the fact that he comes back and he helps us, right, and with this new movement that we have, and really allows players to get into their zone, their comfort level, and they really excel with him running that second unit. Like, I think that would be definitely a feel-good story, and I think it's something that Chicago Bulls fans would absolutely be excited about. With the Zach LaVine situation, I'm not necessarily buying that, because it was put out there as like, okay, the divorce that's going to happen between the Chicago Bulls and Zach LaVine is something that Chicago Bulls fans would be excited about. I don't know about that. Like, I'm more excited about seeing the potential of what we're going to do with Kenny Lofton Jr. What are we going to do with Sanogo? Like, what are we going to do with Dalen Terry? What are we going to do with Julian Phillips? Like, I'm more excited about that, and just seeing if those players are potentially going to be future pieces for the Chicago Bulls, more so than something that I think is obvious and something that, we know as Chicago Bulls fans, like, we're just going to have to wait it out. I don't think that Zach LaVine is being moved before training camp. I think that if he is going to be moved at this point in time, it's going to be closer to the trade deadline. And so it's going to happen, but that doesn't excite me. I think what excites me is the younger players that we have, and the fact that they looked pretty good over the summer. They've been looking good in their workouts and things like that. So I think that really should excite Chicago Bulls fans. So now I turn it over to you, the viewers out there. Let me know in the comments what you are thinking. Are you excited about Lonzo Ball coming back? Are you excited about the potential of Matas Buzleis winning the Rookie of the Year? Are you excited about Coby White and Ayo possibly taking another step, and they're players that we have actually drafted and have been in our system? And then, are you excited for the fact that, yes, Zach LaVine will be traded? Or are you with me in the sense that, like, you would much rather be excited about what Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, what they're going to do with Lofton Jr. and players like that? So let me know in the comments what you're thinking. And before we jump out of here, I just want to thank you for going ahead and liking and subscribing to the videos, and let you know that 66.9% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So please make sure that you continue to alley-oop and slam dunk on that subscribe button for me, as it means a lot as we try to reach 5,000 subscribers before the NBA season starts. And even though we are just grabbing things to be excited about before the NBA season starts, I'm still saying go Bulls. And as usual, man, I will see you on the next one. Peace.